Am I the asshole for refusing to take my ex back but accepting my fiance's kids?
Wait, whoa.
My ex-husband, let's call him Frank, and I got married deeply in love. After a while, I found out I couldn't have children. Frank wanted kids, and he told me he didn't want to leave me, but he also wanted to have a child with someone else. I couldn't accept that. Later, I found out that he had gotten a woman from his workplace pregnant. He told me he didn't want to divorce me, and he still wanted to be with me, but I couldn't stay. Despite his resistance, I divorced him, and he married the mother of his child. This was 2 years ago. Now I'm with someone new. Let's call him Mark. Mark is kind, understanding, and has been a great support system for me after everything with Frank. I love him deeply. He has 2 sons from his previous marriage, ages 3 and 5. They stay with him every other weekend and see him regularly during the week. He's a great dad, and I admire that about him. Mark and I recently decided to get married, and I'm really happy about it. But ever since Frank found out, he's been trying to contact me. Today he showed up outside my work. He accused me of being a hypocrite, accepting Mark's kids, but refusing to accept his. He said that all he ever wanted was to build a life with me and grow old together, and that I was being unfair for not accepting him under the same circumstances. Logically, I see why he thinks it's the same situation, but it doesn't feel the same. The thought of Frank and his child still hurts me, yet I don't feel the same way about Mark and his kids. Frank insists it's the same. But is it? Top comment. They quote her, logically, I see why he thinks it's the same situation. And they say, I mean, no, it's not remotely the same situation. And somebody else says this, the first situation wasn't about not accepting his child. It was about infidelity and betrayal. In her current relationship, it seems like he's loyal and he has not stepped outside of their relationship. In fact, X continues to show that he is disloyal by trying to get married with someone when he is already married.
Right.
Dude needs counseling. Update to, am I the asshole for refusing to take my ex back but accepting my fiance's kids? As some of you predicted in my last post, Frank hasn't given up. Every day he sends flowers. Every morning I find a new bouquet on my desk at the office. The notes always say things like how he won't give up on us, how he loves me, how I'm the love of his life. I realize that these words don't mean anything to me anymore. I told Frank to stop, that I don't want to talk to him anymore, but the flowers keep coming. Since he has many connections in my company, including the owner, who is his friend, I can't even figure out exactly who is delivering them to my desk. Frank comes from a wealthy background, which gives him influence in places like my workplace, making it harder for me to shut this down. I haven't told Mark about this because he gets very tense when Frank comes up in conversation. The last time I talked to him about Frank, he was angry. But keeping this from him doesn't feel right either. What should I do? Another issue is causing tension between Mark and me. Mark doesn't want me to invite my aunt to my wedding. She is the mother of my cousin, who is married to Frank's best friend. However, my aunt has always been a very important person in my life. She's like a second mother to me. This has become a major point of conflict between Mark and I. I don't want to create distance between us, but I also don't want to lose my aunt. What should I do? I would really appreciate any advice. Okay, so top comment, you have to be honest with Mark. It's also time to tell Frank's wife that her husband is sending you flowers. Also, I would inform Frank that if he does not stop bothering you, you will file charges with the police for harassment. Talking to his wife and threatening to charge with harassment, then telling Mark will tell Frank your true intentions. OP responded, I'm considering both, but I just don't think filing charges would stop him. He can make this go away easily. I want to be honest with Mark, but I'm a little scared to lose him over this. And then somebody else responded, you're documenting the harassment that establishes a pattern of behavior if your ex escalates. This is vital to protecting yourself and any others who your ex harasses. You won't be taken seriously unless you report what's happening as soon as possible. If the cops fail to do their job, then at least they can't blame you. Am I the asshole for refusing to speak to my ex-fiance before he died? I, 31 female, dated my ex, Nico, 33 male, for 5 years. From 18 to 23. Okay. We were engaged, living together, and planning our future. I was pregnant, and I thought we had a great relationship. We sometimes had our up and downs, but I never saw coming what happened. Basically, I discovered he was cheating on me a month before the wedding. He cheated on me with one of my closest friends, and some of my friends knew and didn't tell me.
Your whole network of people is...
That's hurtful.
One finally broke down and decided to tell me everything. Needless to say, I was not only devastated, but angry and confused. I couldn't manage to understand the situation, and I was so overwhelmed because I didn't know how to even begin to deal with the situation. But I understood that the healthiest thing for me to do was to just disappear and start over somewhere else. And that's what I did. I blocked him and the friends that knew and didn't tell me, even the one that had told me, because she had kept it from me for over 2 months and I didn't trust her. I deleted my social media, changed my number, and canceled all of the wedding stuff behind his back. I also took all of our money from our savings account and I sold the ring. All that stress caused me to have a miscarriage, and no one knew about this because I had gone back to my hometown and was staying at a hotel. I literally didn't tell anyone I was leaving, but I did tell one of my former friends that he should tell Nico I had a miscarriage. I had no family, and back then, I knew I couldn't trust the people I called my friends, so I chose to just keep everything to myself. I spent over a year traveling around Europe and Asia. I finally settled in Ireland since I have the nationality thanks to my dad. I'm from South America, to clarify. I still had money thanks to my inheritance, and I bought a small apartment for myself and I started working. I surrounded myself with some good friends and started therapy. I had multiple casual relationships, but it wasn't until I met Alex, 31 male, who also is from my country, that I fell in love again. I met him when I was 27, and it took me a while to trust him, but we eventually got serious. We got married last year, and earlier this year, we moved back to our country. So I started using social media eventually. My former friends and ex hadn't found out about it at first, but one of them eventually did, and they started sending me thousands of texts, especially my ex, who kept asking us to have a simple talk, that he still loved me, that he regretted everything, and he hasn't been able to move on. This happened 3 years ago, and I chose to send one text to my ex telling him that I didn't hate him or resent him, but that he was just a part of my past, and as he knew, for me the past needs to stay buried. I once wanted to be with him for the rest of my life, but right now, I'm aware of the fact that he will not be who I thought he was, and although our relationships taught me that people are not what they seem to be, I shouldn't trust people so easily. For me, I wasted many years of my youth with him, and that was just it. I told him I was in love with someone else, and not to try to talk to me again, because he would never see my face again in person, and that was the end of it. After that, I blocked them all, and I put my account on private. Now back to the present, I reconnected with one of my friends from the past, Melissa. She didn't know about the affair, and she lost contact with our former group of friends because she didn't trust them because of what they did to me. She told me that she tried to contact me but had no idea how to do it. Although she's not friends with everyone else before, she's still friends with one of Nico's cousins, who was never close with him, but that had always been sad. From her, she found out that Nico was sick with cancer and wanted to speak to me. She told me, according to Nico's cousin, he had no chance of making it and he just wanted to speak to me. Melissa told me to do whatever felt right, and so did my husband, and I agreed. I decided not to speak to him, and just told Melissa she should tell Nico's cousin that I don't want to speak to Nico. My reason is simple for this. I put everything in the past. I healed from this situation. It was hard, but I did it. I don't need closure. I know I don't owe him anything. I have no feelings towards him. So I recently found out from Melissa that Nico passed away. Now his family is furious at me. They can't get to my social media accounts, but they got to my husband's. They told him that I was just a bitter bitch that couldn't even grant the wish of a dying man just speaking to me, telling me that's all he wanted. Alex just blocked all of those accounts and put his account on private for a while and told me not to let them get to me, that I did absolutely nothing wrong. Although I truly didn't wish to speak with Nico, didn't have anything to say to him, didn't want to hear anything from him, I began to wonder if I should have just listened to what he had to say just so that he could go without holding anything. But I don't know if I truly think that or if it's just let the creeps of his family get to me. I don't know.
Am I the asshole for telling my ex-boyfriend's daughter it's not my problem? I, 38 female, dated John, 40 male, for about 6 months. We had known each other for about a year before we started dating. We broke up 3 months ago. The reason for the breakup was because of his daughter, Tia, 16 female. From the very beginning, she was hostile towards me, rude comments, putting me, my cooking, etc. down, constantly referring to me as that bitch. She said I was the reason her parents broke up. False. They broke up 10 years ago, 9 years before I met John. I have a stepmom who went out of her way to try and push her way into my life. So I actively did everything I could to be the exact opposite. I tried to give her space. I tried talking to her, asking her what I could do to at least make things civil between us. Her answer? I could voluntarily leave this world. John was no help. He threatened to ground her, take her things away, but they were empty threats, and Tia would just continue her tirade against me. Her mother, Chloe, who honestly is awesome, even tried to talk to her and figure out what her problem was. Tia couldn't come up with one reason why she didn't like me. She just didn't. It all came to a head one night while they were at my house. We had ordered food and I went to go pick it up. When I got back, I found John in my dining room sweeping up the remains of my grandmother's antique picture. My grandmother meant the world to me, so seeing the picture destroyed broke my heart. I demanded to know what happened, and Tia gave me a smirk and said, "Oops, it was an accident." I asked her how it was an accident, and she just shrugged and said something like, "I think I bumped into the table and it just fell off." There's no way that can happen. My dining table is heavy. You have to slam yourself into it to even shake the picture. I told them to leave and spent the rest of the night crying. The next day I called John and told him I couldn't do this anymore. He tried to talk me out of it, but my mind was made up. Fast forward to 2 days ago. I leave work and there's Tia. She started going on about John's new girlfriend, Jane. How Jane is a monster. Evidently, Tia tried her old tricks on Jane, but Jane gives it right back to her. Tia calls her names, Jane calls her names back. Tia insults Jane, Jane insults her back. The worst was that Tia accidentally broke something of Jane's, and in retaliation, Jane took Tia's phone and smashed it. I asked her if she had told her mom. She had, and Chloe decided that Tia wasn't going to go over to John's anymore. I told her something like, "It sounds like everything is settled then." Tia started crying, asking if that was it. I just looked at her and said, "Yep, your mom handled it. It's not my problem," and I left. I was talking to my sister about this last night, and she called me an asshole. She said that obviously Tia's hurting and needed me. She came to me for a reason, and the least I could have done was be a shoulder for her to cry on. I just don't feel anything. I think I'm just numb to Tia now. So, am I the asshole?
Karma's a bitch! You don't know fucking shit to nobody. This one's coming from r/malicious compliance. Title: You want every email that's addressed to you to arrive at your inbox? You got it, pal. So this just happened. My bosses and I are still laughing. We are a small IT company. We manage quite a few clients though. This one gentleman at one of our busier client sites says that he's tired of being told his emails never arrive to him. We look it up, and yes, a couple of legit emails got tangled up in the spam filter. No big deal. We whitelist the sender and release the message. No, not good enough for this guy. He calls back screaming, quote, "I order you to let any email addressed to me come to my inbox."
Jesus.
I advise him that I'm going to have to transfer him to IT security, and he's going to have to, on a recorded line, say he understands and accepts responsibility for yada yada yada. See, I did that because these guys get thousands of spam emails a day. A while back, several folks, this guy included, decided to give their email address and password to some unsavory website, then did it again, and again, and again. So now they easily get 15 to 20 plus messages per hour to the entire organization. So he accepts, saying he just wants all of his emails to go to him. We allow all messages to him to bypass a spam filter. 3 hours later, he has over 100 new emails, and they keep coming in. He calls back furious, asking why his spam filter isn't working. Quote, "Sir, you asked that all emails addressed to you arrive at your inbox."
I love it.
So there's an update. Right now, it's around 4:45 today. He's calling our office, and the call gets routed to me since I own the ticket. He's livid, shouting so loud my coworkers on the opposite side of the room can hear him. Quote, "Whatever you did to my email, I want it put back to the way it was. You fucked up my email, and now I can't get any work done because my stupid notifications are going off every second." I calmly reply, "Absolutely. I'll go ahead and turn your spam filtering back on and all these emails will stop." "Good. That's what you should have done in the first place." At the end of it all, nothing changed and he's happy. God, I love IT work.
Damn.